for an incredible night. Oh, we're taking it up a notch.
Content creator is a role that every supplier now needs to take on. What is a wedding day content creator?
And people will tell you what they like seeing on your content. You know, put things like that on your stories.
2 million, 1.9 million, loads of millions of views. TikTok specifically, do you get inquiries through that?
If you are a business in the wedding industry, I can't recommend TikTok enough.
A negativity.
There has been negativity.
I'm not going to lie, I've sat in my car and cried a good few times. 2 things that you need to do on your next post. I don't need to do anything else, just do these 2 things. When you're working at a wedding,
Hey, be sure you stick around because we're only getting warmed up.
if it doesn't do very well, I'll delete it tomorrow. It's fine. I'll delete it in the morning. And when I woke up, no word of a lie, I had 171 emails in my inbox from this one TikTok video.
Can I jump? Yeah, I'll start and you do a little bit.
Okay,
you add it in. How are we doing, guys? Welcome to another episode of Think Wedding Business. And I think we should call this one Think Wedding New Business. Only because the lovely person we're talking to today has entered the industry with a new concept, something that I'd only come across this year. It's really interesting. And I think it's going to be quite big.
It's very witty.
I think it's going to be big. So, Adam, you do the rest. You do the other bit of intro.
I just want to start because on the last episode with The Word is Love, they ended theirs with a question. And the question was, how do we improve on TikTok? Which I think is on a lot of people's minds at the minute. And it's this, with the landscape of social media changing into reels, TikToks and content.
What's TikTok?
Exactly. And it's important, but nobody has a clue. So luckily for them, hopefully, and exciting for us today, we've got Mrs. Bunn, wedding content creator.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So it's great. It's great to have you on, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to talk about just that, all those things, social media, but also wedding content creation is obviously it's new to me. You tell me, but I've only discovered it this year, and it seems to be blowing up as a new thing that brides and grooms can have.
Yeah.
I mean, just tell it. Well, I should introduce you as Melissa, Mrs. Bunn, wedding content creator.
Yes.
Can you just tell us what a wedding day content? Because I feel like content creator is a role that every supplier now needs to take on. We all need to be creating content for social media, for marketing. But to offer it to couples, what is a wedding day content creator?
Yeah, so obviously
That's the right title.
For sure, yeah. Wedding content creation, it's it's taken the industry really by storm. I only started this in January and I'm fully booked for this year. It's definitely something that's kind of caught people's eye. And I think filled a void really. So I think kind of in its simplest terms, it's like a person or a team that go to people's weddings and they capture everything on an iPhone, capturing all that like really raw content, everything that kind of happens in that day, all the behind the scenes. And obviously it has so many, more elements to it. It means that guests and bridesmaids and bridal parties and things can go fully present. They can fully immerse themselves in the day without worrying about making sure we capture this. A lot of people find social media, really interesting, and have like followings and things on there as well. It's definitely not just for couples who are really into social media. I think it's more of a memory maker. There's obviously so much that happens in your day, and photographers, videographers, they capture it, in such a professional and beautiful way. But there's definitely that kind of element missing of that behind the scenes and those really raw moments. Obviously, then it's quite immediate. People get it the next day. So that really helps sort of fill that void. The wedding blues hit quite soon after the wedding, and obviously professional images and things can take a while to come back, understandably. So it's about having like those memories sort of as soon as possible, really, that you can be able to relive, share with friends and family, they can share it and things like that. And yeah, just not really missing anything while still capturing it from quite a creative angle. And I think that's what's important about it. Obviously, yes, you can ask a bridesmaid, a groomsman, a family member to capture your wedding on an iPhone. Of course you can. I think for me, I wouldn't have personally wanted one of my guests glued to their phone all day. You want them to really enjoy the day. And I think even when you go for like a brunch with your friends or a birthday party, you find that you don't really take a lot of content when you're there because you just enjoy it. So I think there's something about when you're really enjoying a moment and you're really immersed in it that you forget to sort of capture that. So I think when it's such a big day such as like, obviously a wedding day, you just really don't want to miss anything. And it goes so fast that there's certain things you can watch back the next day and think, oh, I remember that happened. I remember when you said that. Oh, do you remember we were giggling about that moment? And it's really kind of not missing a thing is how I sort of put it.
I feel like you're selling it to me. What are you saying? That is so good.
Hit me up.
It's funny you should say that, because for many, many years, I'm a singer, I'm an entertainer, performer, and that is my role in the wedding. I host the day and do entertain people and sing and all that kind of stuff. But for many years, I always used to take my little GoPro with me. I still do it now, and just do little bits of snippets of the day and make a little film. And then usually the next day, the day after that, I'd put it on social media and it would go berserk. People would follow it. They'd tag the friends in it, and it's very unprofessional, but it's just a little view of their wedding day, which people want to see instantly. And it really works, So it's kind of taking that concept to the next level and getting all those little bits and making cool little movies of little sections of the day.
Yeah,
and
exactly that.
I think the technology's kind of caught up as well, hasn't it? Because iPhones are incredible now. So
oh yeah,
you can get some really good quality stuff.
I mean, and yeah, like if you look at the reels and things I take, they look great because obviously you have got, I suppose, as a wedding content creator, you do have to have a little bit of an eye. I don't think anyone can just pick up a phone and film, in a certain creative way. But at the same time, like you said, it's about being a little bit more rough and ready. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to look immaculate. It's about more being able to relive the moments rather than having everything look absolutely pristine. Obviously, if it looks great as well, then that's a bonus. But I think, it's just about memories. That you cannot get enough memories from your wedding day. I don't believe that that's possible. It's beautiful.
That key thing that you said about it means that bridesmaids don't have to take that on board themselves, and the guests,
exactly.
which that would be the key thing for me, is that because I would want everyone to just turn the phones off and enjoy themselves. And you see ceremonies, like a lot of couples say, don't use your phones in the ceremony because everyone's just watching through an iPad or whatever.
Yeah. And you can understand the temptation to ask people to do it at the same time because, you do want to be able to relive those moments, don't you, at the same time? So you understand the temptation of asking somebody to do that for you. And, even with the unplugged, I totally agree. I think an unplugged ceremony is a definite for me, but I think at the same time I do understand why some people say, can you capture this, can you capture that? So I think just having people fully immersed and being able to enjoy the day with you is gold dust, really. And I think as social media continues to move forward and become more important in people's lives and things like that, then you can just see why this is a necessity, really, so that you can bridge that gap between having those memories and also allowing people to just have a great time.
You find that people get on board with that. So if the couple have said, we've got a content creator, don't get your phone out, it's covered.
Yeah.
People
I do. They do. There are still some, but I definitely think it's reduced from where, I find that a lot of my couples will put it on their website and things like that. And they'll say, don't worry about taking content. we've got a content creator. And I do see confetti shots, for example. Now I'm kind of filming it and they can see that person on the phone on the gimbal. People tend to just put their phones away. And it's quite nice, really. It's definitely reducing.
You see you with it because, obviously I'm being a videographer. They know that me and the photographer are there, but that's a different thing, isn't it? Whereas if they see you with a phone, they might go, someone's doing it on the phone, we don't need to.
I know, and it's like, you guys have still got it in hand. You're capturing it 10 million times better than what an iPhone is going to capture it. However, there's still that gap and people still want that iPhone footage. No pressure, Adam.
Yeah, but you're right. Obviously, like my films, 8 weeks, 10 weeks after the wedding, and maybe a little teaser a few days after, but then the rest down the line, and it's a sit down film and you make a night of it and that's still important. Same with the photos, but I can appreciate the immediacy. With my sister got married earlier this year, and I don't know if at breakfast the next morning, and we would everyone's at breakfast buzzing from the night before, reminiscing, and the videographer put just a 10-second thing, he sent it across, and we were just watching it all morning nice. But imagine having it. So what is it you deliver?
So I deliver all raw footage to start with, and they usually get kind of by the next morning, really. So I upload that overnight, and then they get absolutely everything I've taken. So there's parts that may look a bit more rough than others, but to them that's a memory. So that's like a core memory. You know, there might be something really important in that clip, or a person that walked into that clip. You know, parents and things like that. So they get absolutely everything. So then they've got the choice whether they want to make their own content with it as well. Yeah. And then depending on the package that they go for, they get a certain amount of reels that are created for them. And again, they get that within 24 to 48 hours completed. Yeah.
I think like that's that. If we had that after Chloe's wedding, like
Oh, God.
hundreds of clips, everyone would have been like, "Oh my God, this is amazing."
Absolutely.
You spend all day looking at it, and you're still in that bubble. I do get it.
Exactly.
I find it really, really inspiring that you've taken a new idea and a new concept, come into the wedding world, because it can be a little bit insular. Certain people are stuck in the ways, and for you to take that new concept and make a thriving business out of it is amazing. What made you do it at the start? What gave you the inspiration to do it? Was it something from your own wedding? Did you see the gap in the market, or do you have a background in social media? What made you kind of take this little concept and think, I'm going to offer that at weddings because it's going to work?
I mean, it has been difficult. I think bringing something new in is always a challenge for sure, but I do really believe in this, and I really believe it makes a difference to people. So I've kind of, took that in my stride. I come from a very non-wedding background. I've actually been a teacher since I left university. So I did 10 years in teaching primary schools. So I have zero wedding experience until I got married last year myself. I had the best day of my life, amazing. And I really did find that, shout out my photographer and videographer. I had Daniel Ackley and I had White in Motion, and they were 10 out of 10. I could not have asked for more from them. But there was this void definitely after. I remember we drove home the next day, and I remember sitting on the sofa and thinking, I can't wait to look at everything, and we started to look through what people had sent us, and there was a blurry picture, and then there was one where I was doing a funny face in it, and I thought, oh gosh, okay, that's fine, we'll wait and see what everyone else has got. And you know what, it was like nothing came. It just went very quiet, because our wedding was real fun. That's how I'd kind of like sum it up. It was great fun. We had really quirky things going on there, quite unique elements, and people were so immersed in it, which I'm so grateful for that they were. But it meant that nobody kind of took many pictures and videos. So the next day afterwards, it felt like there was a little bit of a gap between obviously us receiving anything. We were lucky to receive some teasers from our photographer, so we could upload obviously, like a little picture on socials and things. But we just found that really quite difficult. And then as kind of time moved on, there was a few videos that people had taken at the venue and things like that. And I started a TikTok. So that's kind of how it all began, really. I started to upload some videos from my wedding, just being like, hey, this was my wedding. Like, what do you think? And people really engaged with it. Like they loved it. It was obviously, I kind of broke a few wedding rules as such. So I think that kind of caught people's attention. And the more that I started to put things on and talk about it, the more I started to build like a little wedding community that knew me as Mrs. Bunn. And that's kind of where it all became from, like that it all started. I then started working with a company called Etiquette Events, an amazing styling company, and I just started to work on their TikTok with them, and I was doing like little wedding tips and things like that, and then I actually started to go out styling with them on like a weekend, adding on to teaching Monday to Friday. So I loved it. I absolutely loved it, and I thought, this wedding world, I think it's for me. I really loved everything about it. I loved the planning journey. I loved the people. I loved the community. I really did. And I think my teaching career, if I'm honest, I felt quite unhappy for a while. I kind of knew it was coming to an end, but I had no idea what else to do. So I had this idea, and I will say it was an idea at the time. I remember saying to my husband, James, Mr. Bunn, I remember saying to him, like, I bet you could actually go and like film content for people and like make reels and things. And at the time when I was saying this, you know how that your phones listen to you and things, something came up on TikTok, and it was like an Australian girl, and she was actually filming a wedding on a phone. And I was like, wow, okay, like this is a thing. It started, and I kind of just watched it unfold for a couple of months. It started in Australia. I started then seeing it in America. Obviously things are very different in the UK, how weddings look and how they work and things like that. But I for sure thought, there's something in this. And as I was kind of like starting a website, and I really was starting a website at the time and chatting about it, I put a TikTok on, and I thought, I'm just going to put this TikTok on and talk about, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What does everyone think? And I said to James, if it doesn't do very well, I'll delete it tomorrow. It's fine. I'll delete it in the morning. And when I woke up, no word of a lie, I had 171 emails in my inbox from this one TikTok video that just said, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What does everyone think? So I knew at that point, this could be something. And then around this same time, there was a girl in Scotland called Social Brides Club who also had started. So we kind of like started talking and saying like, wow, we're just going to give this a go. Like, let's kind of just go for it. And I did. I genuinely, the first day back in September at school, I handed my notice in and I just went for it. I threw myself in at the deep end. I did my first wedding in November. I did 3 free weddings to go and get to know how it works. And after that, that was it. Now here I am, fully booked.
The end of last year. So this is like a year on.
Yeah, it's literally like within days. It's a year, yeah. But I hadn't actually finished teaching until the end of December, so I haven't even been out of that for a year yet, which is absolutely crazy. And I've done 74 weddings now, so yeah.
Wow.
I think this podcast is for anybody out there who maybe has got an idea and is holding back on actually giving something a try. This is for those people.
Yeah.
And how to use the social media to make it blow up. So cool.
So you did your wedding and you just enjoyed that wedding world and bubble and made a TikTok account, and then you're helping people plan theirs, and then that audience allowed you to say, I want to do it. And
yeah,
you had such a good response from it.
Yeah, I actually think like the first weddings that I booked, don't get me wrong, out of those 171 emails, I probably turned over about 10 of those weddings because like, obviously when you're new to it, I remember my first phone call with a couple and I must have been like, I was just so like nervous. And it just fits into place. It really does. And yeah, I think my first sort of bunch of clients that I actually, secured were people that knew me from TikTok. So I'd turn up at their wedding and they'd be like, hey, Mrs. Bunn, like, look this. And I actually find that a lot of my couples now, they do things that I had at my wedding as well. And that's exactly why I do my TikTok is I put inspiration on there from my own wedding, from other weddings that I see, and, say to people, this was really great. Like, if you want to do it, go and do it. I really do try and build a community on there.
Mega.
It's ace. And it is like what you said about this woman from Scotland. So you guys are obviously at the forefront of this content creation thing in the UK. But it does seem like, because I've noticed a few now and I'm following a few content creator profiles on Instagram. You all seem to kind of know each other, and it does seem like a real community thing because it's a new concept. It seems like you're all propping each other up and supporting each other, which is really nice. Don't know if that is
definitely. No, that is definitely the case. One of the content creators actually in the UK, she started like a Facebook page for us all, and we kind of jump on there and we support each other. And there's many things that crop up every week. There's little niggles and things that we're all trying to kind of iron out. And we really do support each other on there. And I think it's really nice, there's more than enough work for everybody and we can all support each other and be really positive towards it and help each other. So yeah, it's lovely. It's a nice community.
Sorry.
I was just going to ask, how have you found this year, 70 something weddings in the year? How have you dealt with that?
Yeah.
Have you learned where your limits are, or is that, it'd be totally different to me. I couldn't take on 70.
I've still got to think about another 15 to go.
Wow.
I have absolutely loved it. I think the difference obviously with us and photographers, videographers and things, we don't have that edit afterwards as such. Obviously we do have some editing, but yeah, within 48 hours that wedding is kind of complete.
Yeah,
as far as admin goes. So we do have obviously the luxury of being able to probably do more weddings, and I'm surprised how many weekday ones that I've actually picked up, and it's been great. So asking me today, loved it. If you asked me mid-September, I don't know if I'd have answered because I was so tired, but I probably overdid it slightly in August and September. But you do learn, and I think for next year I've kind of said, right, actually from this year, what have I learned? I've learned that probably 4 or 5 in a row isn't a good idea.
Been there. We know.
Just a touch. Just
Yeah,
yeah. I bet you have.
you
Should
go
give
a
me
bit
the heads up,
delirious
guys. Come
on
on.
day 4. You just kind of, you don't know where you are. You're like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, and you know, you have to be
Great.
so energetic, don't you? You're so energetic, and you're so, you know, every wedding, I absolutely love them. Like, I still cry at ceremonies, I really do, at the vows and things like that. But I think that you're just so enthusiastic, and you're just so happy for the couple and to be there for the day that, yeah, by the 4th day, you are lacking energy slightly. And I found that, like, my diet wasn't great because you're just eating rubbish, aren't you? Trying to keep going. So, yeah. Learned a lot.
You do. First year, you've got to throw yourself into it and just take on what you can, because that'll lead into next year's work and you'll get referrals and stuff. And it is intense, and you learn lessons from it and you learn your limits. But that's kind of,
well, yeah. I was gonna ask about that, because we always try and bring it back with the podcast. We always try and give loads of good advice for people who want, you know, some inspiration with their marketing, how to get more bookings, and we always try and bring it back to that kind of educational stuff. So I was going to ask you, how do you get your bookings? But that's quite obvious, because it's all most of it, I imagine, is social media. And I'm going to ask that, you know, some of your strategies that you do. But do you get bookings from anywhere else? Has it literally been social media and then word of mouth from there onwards?
Yes. If I'm being totally honest, I did join like an online sort of platform, but I've actually since kind of removed myself from that. I wasn't finding that I was getting much work from it at all. Everything has kind of come from social media. So Instagram and TikTok, I haven't actually put any more money into marketing at all other than my website, which
don't need to.
is amazing. Yeah, I think a lot of the time as well, like a lot of things come from Instagram, and obviously can give you some kind of tips on. I'm not, you know, a professional at that or anything, but you know, things that have worked for me, I'm more than happy to share. But I think a lot of it is word of mouth as well. You know, I work with some amazing photographers, some amazing videographers that actually they are now getting asked, you know, who do you recommend? And I've worked with some incredible people who I'm on their suppliers list now. I'm on a few venue suppliers list. So it just, a lot of it is word of mouth, especially with something so new, because people are, you know, they really trust their media team, you know, they really trust their photographer, their videographer. And I think actually, as for me, you know, I've had some challenges in that area, but they're, you know, you guys are the people that they're asking. I find, I think content creation is slowly creeping up the list of people to book in order. But at the moment, I would say, you know, obviously people are booking their photographer and videographer, and I do recommend doing that first. But yeah, you guys as well. You know, you're the ones that are shouting for us as well. So that's amazing.
Are you conscious that you're like, yeah, your kind of main referrals suppliers wise is going to be photographers and videographers
and then you? I would say those 3. Yeah, I mean, I do get asked, you know, through people. I have people that message me and say, "Oh, my wedding dress boutique has mentioned you." You know, there's a few places that you're like, "Oh, wow," and you know, like a florist and styling companies, photo booths, even. But I think the main sort of, if you're going word of mouth, it's going to be people that you know that have got married. A lot of the time, I come away from a wedding with someone else that's getting married, and they're interested in what have you been doing today? Like, oh, can I contact you? And then I get that. I've done a wedding now for a family where I've done 3 people in that same family, so in the same year. So nice. I think, yeah, it's a lot of it is word of mouth, and a lot of it is social media, and it has to be, obviously, because that's where we're kind of placed, aren't we, really?
This is, I mean, as a content creator, it's great for you, because what you do at a wedding, you could just go straight to social media. Like for you to put content on, like that's an extra thing, whereas you're just doing it anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I want to get onto the relationships with suppliers and the wedding day itself as well.
Yeah.
But just whilst we're still on socials, so I'm looking at your TikTok now. You've 51,000 followers on TikTok. You've got 11,000 something on Instagram, I think. And some of these videos on your TikTok have had 2 million, 1.9 million, like individual reels, videos, whatever you call them, loads of millions of views. Mm-hmm. It's TikTok specifically. Do you get inquiries through that? Is that a big...
Yes, I do.
Following. I'm just wondering how relevant that audience is and whether you get inquiries through that.
I kind of see, so Instagram and TikTok for me are very, very different platforms. And I do keep things a little bit separate on there. So yes, I do get inquiries through TikTok. I would definitely get more if I marketed myself more on there, for sure. But with my TikTok, I try and keep it a little bit, not separate, but that's more of my community. So they're the people that I just want to help with their weddings. I just want to give them inspiration. I don't particularly want to sell myself to them. I want to just give them all the ideas and help them out a little bit. It's a minefield, TikTok. It really is a minefield. And I think Instagram for me is more of where I put a lot of my work. I do more of my marketing. It's a little bit more, not professional, but it doesn't, everything looks a certain way on Instagram. Aesthetic is really important to me and things. Whereas TikTok, you can kind of throw something on it. It doesn't need to look perfect and things like that. So yes, if you are a business in the wedding industry, I can't recommend TikTok enough, if I'm honest. I think you have to give it a go. You have to learn with it. I'm working with a amazing like venue. Well, they've got 6 wedding venues actually. So I'm working with them at the moment, and we put our first video on there yesterday, and it got like 3,000 views. And I was like, yes, that's amazing. But even if they turn over 1% of that for an inquiry, you know, that's amazing. So I think you've just kind of got to give it a go with TikTok. I think people love people on there. So show your face, show what's really going on. And that's just kind of what I try and do. So yeah, that's how I kind of keep the two separate, but they do cross over sometimes as well.
TikTok's more just personal stuff. Throw yourself on there. Instagram's a bit more polished.
I think so. I personally think so. Yes, I think keep your Instagram really polished, and I think with your TikTok you can just be a little bit more informal. A little, you don't have to make things look as perfect.
Yeah,
fun,
and I imagine most of the inquiries will probably come through Instagram then, in regards to TikTok. But the collaboration of the two really work hand in hand. TikTok for me is one of those places. It's just a bit of fun. You want to see a quick video, have a bit of a laugh, get a bit of inspiration. But anything that's going a bit more serious, i.e., making a booking, you're going to go into Instagram and the websites and stuff. But mainly Instagram. I'd say.
I'm on TikTok, but I'm not doing anything on TikTok. So
yeah.
When it came out around the COVID sort of time, 2020, and I jumped on early when everyone was just started doing little silly dances and stuff. And I remember at that time in 2020, there was conversations in videography groups. Yeah, it's just for kids. It's a fad. It's pointless. And you could get really good reach and really good views really easily because TikTok's pushing a lot of content to the algorithm. But everyone was like, yeah, but it's irrelevant. It's just kids. Like nobody's. But especially now, like my fiance at home, she goes on TikTok and she uses it for recipe ideas, for baby weaning ideas, for home inspo. And you see a lot of wedding planning inspo on there.
You do, yeah.
People like yourself. And I just think it's getting to a point where that this demographic, people my age, women especially, are using it for inspiration for various
everything.
Yeah, and I think it's great to hear that you are getting inquiries from it, and I think that it is definitely. I agree, it's something that I need to start pushing. Everyone should.
Honestly, right? I've been singing for nearly 20 years. I went on Instagram not long after it started, and I've only got about 5,000 followers. You've got 11,000 since was it last November you started? When did you start? I can't remember, but it's a very short space of time. You've got all those followers. Yeah. Like, God, it's amazing I was going to ask you, do you offer that? Maybe it's a little bit separate from the wedding.
I was going to ask.
Do you offer this as a service for other businesses as well? Is it something you do?
Yes. So I offer it for suppliers and venues. So I'm actually working with a venue next week, creating some content for their social media. But I offer it for suppliers as well. So I can shadow you for the day. For me, like obviously you guys, when you are at work, you are working, you know, trying to get behind the scenes of yourselves as well. It's virtually impossible, isn't it? Yes, you can attach a phone to your camera and things like that. You can do a lot of cool reels, like, you know, the moment versus the photo and things like that. But I always think when you're booking a supplier, you kind of want to see who they are, and what a better way to do that than to see them at work. So I do work with suppliers as well, shadowing them.
It's hard to do it yourself when you're in there, like you say, you're actually working. So I could hire you to come with me and do some content creation for me when I'm working on a wedding, as long as the bride and groom are obviously
absolutely.
Cool. That is it. Do you actually transition into other businesses as well, apart from weddings?
So I do get a lot of inquiries for other things like events and PR and things like that. But to be honest, I'm that chocker with weddings. I haven't taken any more on yet.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
You're like me. I love weddings and I'm busy with weddings. So I just turn my hands on everything that's not weddings.
Try and bring it back to a bit of a lesson, right? They're not tried TikTok before and they need to do a little bit more on Instagram. what posts work really well? What would you recommend to do? I know that, I mean, we always say, look, just do it and you learn on the job and keep going. But have you got any sort of strategies or any advice for somebody who's not that prolific on the social media, Instagram, TikTok? What would you say to them? This is a great thing to post, or here's a bit of direction. What would you?
Is TikTok just the real type videos, or is there different types of stuff you can post on TikTok?
There's such a variety now. I think, like you were saying, years ago when it was sort of COVID times, it was about going on there, putting dances on there and things like that, wasn't it? TikTok are definitely moving more towards like an SEO kind of platform now. So like you were saying, people search recipes on there. If you go into TikTok and search wedding content creator UK, I can bet you I'm going to come up and there's 10 other content creators that are going to come up. So it is kind of like a Google search as such now, is how they want it to work. You can do up to 10-minute videos and things on there now. So, they love that YouTube kind of look. I think the best thing you can do with TikTok is kind of find your niche, find what you like to talk about, find what you like to do. For me, when I first started, I was like, I'm not going to put dances on because that's just not a bit of me. But once I found my wedding and I loved my videos, I thought, you know what, I love this, I'm going to put that on. And then you'll see if people engage with it or not. And I think you kind of just have to play around with it a little bit and see what you like. But if you're not enjoying it, other people won't enjoy it, because people like people, and people are nosy, right? I'm nosy. I want to know what people are doing with their lives. So I think find your niche and kind of roll with that first is what I would sort of say. So find what you're comfortable with, find what you enjoy doing. If it's wedding tips, if it's recipes, if it's like workouts and things like that. If that's a bit of you, just try it. I mean, there's so many people on there now, doing the same things, but I would just say get your face on there, get your voice on there, let people know who you are a little bit.
Well, I mean, we always advocate that, don't we? For any supplier, not just showing the products. Like if you're a florist, just showing pictures of flowers. Like get yourself on there. So in your case, because I've seen a lot of your TikToks, are you voiceover into footage from stuff from a wedding, and you're doing the voiceover. Yeah. So that's kind of is that where you found your rhythm, and you like making that type of, you like doing the voiceover bits as opposed to being on camera sort of thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I do the on-camera stuff as well, but we've just started like a little series on there called Married But Still Dating, and we found actually that fits really nicely with the content that I make, because I'm talking about weddings all the time. I'm talking about before your wedding, I'm talking about after your wedding, and actually part of after your wedding is, still going on fun dates with your partner and things like that. So we've just started branching out a little bit, and like I said, people I put things on my Instagram all the time, like, what do you want to see on here? And people will tell you what they like seeing on your content. Put things like that on your stories, and ask people what they want to see. A lot of people put on mine, we want to see what you're doing in your normal life. So, all right, I'll show you the Aldi. I'll show you what I bought at Aldi this week if you like. I think people just want to see things.
It's so bizarre, because I put reels on Instagram, and I think one of my best performing reels is when I was on holiday with the kids. Yeah. The one where I've got the glass. An empty hand, and we're in that. I think we're in Manchester Airport, and we're walking down a corridor, and then we're on the plane with our hands. Forward, and then we go and pick up a glass in Spain, and it's like, whoa, that got me the most views, and I've been putting wedding video stuff out for bloody years. Yeah. But people want to see the personal side, don't they?
Obviously, share what you do, business, like share what your service is, videos.
Yeah.
DJ
and be clever about it.
Bring in every now and again, bring in your personal life, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and be clever about it as well. Like if you're like, when I put things on, sometimes I'll say, oh, this cool thing I saw as a wedding content creator. So even though I'm talking about someone else's wedding, I'm still saying, well, actually, the reason that I've seen that is because I'm a wedding content creator. So if someone's looking for a wedding content creator, they're going to hear that and go, oh, she's a wedding content creator. So
that's the SEO thing. Yeah. It's play, is it?
Yeah, exactly that. I think, keywords, but the only thing I would say with TikTok, sometimes, it's a frustrating platform in the sense that you can do everything they tell you to do and your video will pick up 300 views. Sometimes it's pot luck, but I think you've got to not let that get you down. You just got to keep going, and see what works. I can see very clearly that people really like the videos where I do the voiceover and I show them fun ideas from people's weddings. People like that, so I'll continue to do that and drop in other things here and there.
I suppose that's the same for Instagram, right? It's the same sort of principles.
Instagram is definitely like, I think with Instagram, I was working with a photographer the other day and he was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do Instagram. Help me, help me. And I said, right, I'm going to give you 2 things that you need to do on your next post. I don't need to do anything else. Just do these 2 things. He was like, okay. I said, when you're working at a wedding, I said, you're working with a makeup artist, a hairdresser, a venue stylist, a cake maker. You're working with so many people. Utilize them. Tag them in your posts and say, look at my photos from this wedding. You might find that one of them will say, oh, can I use that? Or even just they'll engage with it. They might say, oh, great photos. That was such a nice wedding day. I said, and then you're getting your name out there. So I said, tag the people that you're working with, tag the venue and put the location on there. I said, because straight away then other couples that are getting married at that venue, you've got to think people probably book their venue before they book their photographer. I said, so they're going to look on that venue, who's worked there previously. You want to make sure your name is there in black and white for them to see. They will look at their venue suppliers list, but most people are looking at Instagram. I personally found all my suppliers through Instagram, every single one. So that's how people are looking. So you just got to get your name out there. Yes.
It sounds fairly like obvious, but it's something that it's just remembering to do it consistently every time.
Yeah.
Something that, I like, tagging all the suppliers in. That's something that I've always known to do, but I don't.
Yeah.
Guilty of not doing it all the time. Sometimes I put on and I forget, or
it's important. Yeah. It's like networking
it every time.
It's networking without doing it face to face. And people,
exactly that.
If I get tagged in something, there's a bit. Say it's a filmmaker or a photographer, and they've got a brilliant picture of me doing my thing. I love it, and I instantly reshare it, and I put it onto my stories, and it just gets the whole ball rolling between all the suppliers. It's a great thing to do.
Well, I, as a videographer, sometimes I feel a bit, because, part of me wants to go, oh, here's, like, if I was working with you, I've got these great clips of you today. Here, like, thought you'd like them. But then I hold back from that sometimes because I'm like, I don't want to be like a pushy. If it's like a venue, oh, here's a video I shot at your venue. I don't want them to, I don't know, I feel weird doing it. So that's...
Yeah, but you could actually clip that into a little film, post it yourself, tag them as like a collaborator. So then they share it, and you can do the same with me, and I would. So you're both getting the benefit from it then.
I think it's remembering that actually suppliers like you really, really enjoy getting those messages. I've got this clip of you. Because I forget, and I sometimes think, well, I won't send it them because I don't want them thinking that I'm trying to push my stuff on them and I'm being a bit of
no, don't worry.
Yeah.
Just do it.
Yeah. I think the main thing though, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Instagram, your website, anything that is marketing yourself, it's just about being authentic. You can see things on other people's pages that you think I love the way that they do that, but it's about embracing that and bringing it back to yourself and thinking, how can I make that me though? Because I've had some difficulties, if I'm honest, obviously being, one of the first content creators in the UK, I've definitely faced a few challenges with people that have come in nerves, had a look at what I'm doing and think, oh, okay, well, I'll just replicate that then because that's working for her. But then it doesn't work for them because they're not me. Does that make sense? So it's about sort of looking at inspo and do look at inspo. I take inspo from people all the time, but it's about making it yours, isn't it? And being authentic and just remaining sort of true to yourself. Because I think
if you're not being yourself, you can't keep up.
It shows.
You can't fake it in the wedding industry.
It shows. Yeah.
You can't fake it. There's no fake it till you make it. You've got to be totally present and enjoying what you're doing and just be you, and it and be, like I say, being authentic, and it works.
The last thing on the socials, is there any trends or things like specific types of reels that you can do? Like what's kind of popular at the minute, or using the right sort of music? Is there any tips on how you can like make a reel go? Because that's the golden question, right? Like, how do I make my reel go viral?
Absolutely. And I think if we all knew how to make every video go viral, we'd all do it, wouldn't we? It's a lot harder than, I think you've always got to remember that when you're posting a video, sort of put yourself in the perspective of the person watching it. If the first few seconds are not engaging, people are not going to continue watching it. The moment people don't continue watching it, TikTok, Instagram will just stop sharing it for you. So to keep that algorithm moving, you've got to keep people engaged the whole time, whether that's, music, whether that's something that's trending. I mean, when the Barbie movie came out, I don't know if you guys saw, but I jumped on that. I really quick, and I did behind the scenes of a wedding content creator, Barbie edition. So I was pretending I was a Barbie all day at this wedding.
Yeah.
It was so good. And people loved it because it was trending, because it was something fun going on at the moment. So straight away they were like, I want to see her as a Barbie. So I think it's just about, keeping your eye. It's difficult, isn't it? Because you don't want to be on TikTok and on Instagram every minute of every day. We all like a break from our phone as well. But it's just keeping an eye on, what's kind of trending, having a look on Instagram, what music is trending. Is there something about that that's capturing people? Keeping your first few seconds as a bit of a hook. What are you talking about? How is that going to grab people in? If I'm at a wedding and I've seen something really cool, and I say, a cool thing I've seen at a wedding, really unique, straight away people can be like, I want to know what that is. And they're hooked.
Yeah.
If I just said, this was a really fun guest book idea, it's not, you've got to really hook them in. So I think, it's about, trying to make it interesting straight away. So
first few seconds, grab them. Don't explain it straight away. Just tease it and then grab them in.
So
I think so.
Interested to know, for anybody watching, how do you find what a latest trend is, say, for instance, on Instagram? Because if you can find something that's trending, like you said, like that Barbie, you can then jump on it and do something, creative content around that. How do you...
Watching where the attention is, aren't you? Because
is there any specific place you can go on Instagram and find the latest trends?
I think a lot of the time it's kind of just on your For You page, because if that's what's boosting the algorithm, TikTok and Instagram are going to keep sharing it. So you'll find, like, when I scroll my For You page, the same song comes up 3 or 4 times, and you start clicking. Then that's something. On Instagram you'll see like a little arrow going up on the song, and that means that it's a trending piece of music. So there's a lot of things. I mean, I could sit here for hours and talk about all the things you should have in your video, the way to find hashtags, but we'd be here all day. So I think there's so many creators out there as well. Even if you just search on TikTok, tips for TikTok, you'll find these creators who genuinely sit there every day and they give you these tips. There's pages that show you trending music. There's pages that show you, ideas for videos and what's kind of trending, and all of the CapCut templates and things. So I think search them as well, follow them, and then their videos start cropping up every now and again, and you can sort of dip into it that way, I think.
See what's working and get inspiration from it. So
the For You page is obviously what the algorithm thinks that you're going to be watching. So if you're watching it and it's working for you, then it might be working for other people.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, God love him. I'm a massive fan of an artist called Fred Again, producer, but that's
aren't we all?
the Adore You song. It's just everyone's using it, and I don't know if it's still working, but it's like I've got to put that on my reel because everyone else is, and that's what's getting. And it's a great song, but I've just heard it so much now. I don't know if it still works or not, but is it because
it went for a while.
Temptations to go, that's the biggest trending song. I'll just use that on every reel. Doesn't work, does it? Or, I mean, does it?
Yeah, I was going to ask the difference on what song you use. I had one song on one of my little videos that I did at Merridale Manor. I got loads of views on it, and I think it's because of the song that I used. But is that right? Is it not? Is it as important as the clip, the music that goes with it?
For me, I follow a lot of these pages that sort of tell me almost what to do on TikTok, and some will say the songs make a difference, some will say they don't. So I think it's a bit of trial and error sometimes. Exactly. I mean, with the Barbie movie, for example, straight away after all of those Billie Eilish songs, they were trending like crazy. I put one on the back of a reel, a TikTok, but the TikTok was also a really, really good TikTok. I don't know whether that got millions of views because of the song or if it got millions of views because of the content. So I think it's difficult to know sometimes. I think, it's worth giving it a go. It's worth jumping on them when they're there. And if it works for you, it works for you. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I think a lot of the time it can be pot luck, to be honest.
Well, there's the answer. Just keep doing it. Keep putting it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So on the wedding day,
so that you're both laughing. What's the question?
No, I'm going to ask now.
I'm guessing you're there all day, and it just as being a videographer personally, I've saw throughout this year in a lot of videography groups, a lot of conversations about content creators and people getting worried about it, feeling threatened, people sticking up for it. Like, both. It was a big debate. It's been a big debate this year about
a bit of negativity.
There has been negativity. There's been a lot of positivity. I've seen a lot of people sticking up for content creators and going, do you know what? It's great because we worked together. they made content for me. Like, I think, you know, for any other supplier that goes to a wedding and you're there, oh, great. Could you give me it in, you know, and like, having spoken to you since now, obviously, I would imagine you'd be quite happy to talk to people about this stuff on the break.
Yeah.
So why not utilize you when you're there? But there has been negativity. How do you?
How have you navigated that coming into the world?
Have you had any of that, and how have you found it?
Yes, I have. I think I want to start with the fact that I've had so much positivity though. Like, I have worked with some incredibly talented people this year, and their inbox is always open. I've had videographers that have said, "Come along to weddings with me. Like, come and just come and shadow me for the day. Like, come and spend the day with me. I'd love to hear more." You know, I've had photographers that have just helped me, that have sat down with me and said, "Look, this part of it could be a problem, and this is how I think you could battle, like how you could challenge that and make that better." So one thing that I have been super grateful for is the open and honest conversations that I've had with suppliers who want to genuinely help you. And I think that for me has been gold, really, because without those conversations, I probably would have still been doing things the way I was at the beginning. And I do think, if I'm honest, I think November, December, January, and the start of the year, there were times where I think I probably did cross a boundary. But as a new person into the industry, unless people are going to help you with that and guide you and give you that advice, it's really hard to not do that again. So I think my service has massively changed from the start to where I am now, 70 odd weddings later. I do things very different to how I did before. A lot of those things are through being respectful of other suppliers, you know, not treading on toes, because there are, you know, there is moments in the wedding day where you could definitely tread on toes or start doing things the same way. So it's about sort of like taking a step back. So to answer your question, I've had some horrendous experiences, but in a way I'm glad they happened, because it's taught me to sort of step back, look at what I'm doing, and sort of navigate my way back through there. I understand the apprehension, and I think it's completely fine to be apprehensive of it. If you've not worked with a content creator before, you know, I've worked in teams of 6, and I bet to some people that have never worked one before, that is like, oh my God, you know, that's a lot of people. That's very scary. But I think there's certain things, you know, like from a content creator perspective, that you can do as well to kind of bridge that gap. I've done Instagram lives with photographers who have had, you know, how do I put this? Some controversial opinions. I've said, let's do an Instagram live, let's have a chat together, let's talk about it from both angles. And by the end of that photographer said, I would love to work with you. And I think it's about bridging that gap. It's about creating awareness, educating, giving it a go as well. And people being a little bit open-minded. But I think as well, like, I always reach out beforehand to my photographer and videographer and just say, hey, this is what I'm going to be doing on the day. This is how I work, but I am here to work with you, and your shots are priority. And for me, I believe in my heart that there is a natural hierarchy. I am never going to get in the way of the first kiss shot. You know, that is your golden shot. Of course it is. So for me, those shots have to become priority. But there are photographers and videographers out there who have completely excluded me from things. And I'm not going to lie, I've sat in my car and cried a good few times this year. So I'm getting tougher skin now, but I've had some horrendous experiences. Yeah.
Good for you for keeping going, because there are some knobs in it, let's be honest. Takes me a bit brag. I've witnessed it over the years, being an entertainer, kind of taking over and doing my thing. If you've got a photographer, a videographer who's got quite a bold personality and trying to run the show, and it's always this other guy coming in running his show, you know. So I've experienced that, and good for you to keep going.
It can be quite egotistical with us, and I've experienced it. When I started and I was a bit more timid, and I had photographers that were like, I don't want you getting in my way. So like similar kind of conversations. You can't do this. It's my time, and you know, and it's upsetting, but it's good that you've taken it on board and gone, how can I raise awareness? How can I educate? And, you know, and you're reaching out to people, but I don't think it's all on you. Like, at the end of the day, you've been hired by the couple. You've got every right to be there as much as us and the photographers. And, it's not just on you to say,
no, it's not.
It's around you, and this is how I work, and I want us to that they need to take take a step back and go, actually,
Well, yeah, exactly. And I've kind of come up with the term
working
that I
together.
use when I speak to them and reach out to them. I kind of use the term of media team, because we're all there to capture memories for the couple. At the end of the day, they are who comes first, not the photographer, not the videographer. It's the couple who comes first, and what they want, they get. And the way that I see it is, I have genuinely had photographers that have sent me home. I've been sent home from a wedding before because they have kicked off that much about it. They won't let me in, and they've threatened to leave. And of course, you're going to sit with your photographer, aren't you? So, like you said, it can't be on everybody, but there has to be some sort of, understanding that we are all there for the couple. We are all there to be a team, and they've kind of got to put that to a side as well, because you know what? A lot of the time, I have people that start off a little bit cold. They're a bit apprehensive. They don't really like the idea of it. They don't really get social media. And by the end of it, they're like, oh God, that weren't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And it's that, like, it's being open-minded.
But why? Yeah, I mean, I don't get the negative. Like, why not go into it open-minded, like you say? But it does happen, and you do get egos, and yeah,
you just have to get over it and just crack on.
We're going to get in the way.
Going, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's hard, when I go to a wedding on my own. Obviously, I come from a background of working in teaching, where everyone's a team, and I see the same people every day, and we're all friends. And I'll go to a wedding, actually sometimes I don't know anybody there other than the couple. So I love to go to weddings and have a natter and get on with everyone, and have a bit of banter in the day. Who doesn't want to go to work and enjoy it? So it's difficult for me when people are a little bit colder towards me. But I would say, on a positive note, I do think it's getting less. I think people are starting to have come across a content creator, or a friend has come across a content creator, and they're starting to say, you know what, it's not as bad as you think. And I think at first, I guess people thought, we're just there to get in the way, we're selfish, we just want to get our phones. And that is not the case at all. If a photographer or videographer goes in my videos, great, they're part of the day. That's the behind the scenes. Mine don't have to look perfect. So I'm never going to be in front of you guys. That's never going to happen. So I think it takes some adjusting, but I think we're getting there.
I think it's such a positive thing, though, for those other suppliers. The photographer, for instance, as well. If you're behind the scenes on the bridal prep, and the video and the photographer getting their professional shots, and you've got them in your scene, and you tag them in on your Instagram and your TikTok or whatever, it's only beneficial for them. They should look at the positive
this
side.
Is how I've not worked with one yet, but this is how I'd like to think of it. And I'm guessing you'd be happy to be like, yeah, I'll get a couple bits for you behind the scenes. Sure, I'll send anything I get. I'll send over.
Yeah,
I worked with one. I didn't get anything, but it was funny because they were actually working with proper SLR cameras, which was a bit bizarre, because they had a professional film team, which is friends of mine. There was a husband and wife team. They had 2 shooters for the photography, and then there was a content creation company, and it was 2 people, and they both had SLR cameras on tripods. And it was a little bit too much, because you can imagine like 17 tripods all knocking into each other.
Yeah.
And I didn't get anything from them, and they were quite timid. They were quite quiet, and I don't know, they weren't engaging personalities. So, they didn't really speak to me much on the day at all. But I imagine doing a wedding with you, totally different. You'd be buzzing, you'd be enjoying the day, you'd be up dancing with all the guests. There's no doubt about it.
You give me a tequila rosé on there.
You say it's a bit much to have 6. Like I would agree that would be my worst nightmare. I wouldn't want 6 people filming me all day at my wedding.
Depends on the couple,
but if that's what the couple have booked, and that's what they're expecting and are happy with, then that's up to them. And it's
I agree.
No. This is my shot. You can't, we're all there to serve the couple, aren't we? So
they weren't happy, the couple, though. After I'm definitely not going to say which wedding it was. There was something afterwards, but I'll tell you later. But yeah, I think you and just your enthusiasm and your personality would just shine it, and it fits so well into a wedding.
And do you know what? If you're there doing your thing and the couple are on board and they're vibing off of you, and it's bringing them out, like for that 10, 15 minutes when we do the couple portraits and we take them off for a little walk or whatever, anything that brings that couple out and makes them laugh and makes them feel more comfortable is only going to help us get better shots from them.
Exactly. So,
personality like you there, I already know that you'd be bubbly chatting away, and the couple then, and I know it from when me and the photographer are having a laugh, the couple will feed off of that, and then they enjoy
Yes.
and relax a bit, and it just helps. So I think
And it's yeah.
do you encourage that relationship with your couples so that at least when you turn up today, that you and your couple really are getting on and really feel like you know each other, and it helps the whole experience?
Absolutely. I think a lot of content creators kind of use the term of hype girl. It's not something that I've personally said, but that's exactly what we all do. I feel like we are there as like an additional best friend. There's so many couples where they've said, hey, you're like one of my bridesmaids, because we are there to sort of just have a great day with you. If I'm having a great day with you, I'm also capturing amazing content. I think there's a little bit of misunderstanding, I guess, with like the term hype girl. We're not standing behind you on your beautiful couples portraits going whoa and getting our cheerleading outfits out. That's not what that means.
What energy?
Yeah, my footwork. There you go. That's a trendy one. Go and do that. I think it's just about enjoying the day. I mean, I always sort of like follow my couples on Instagram prior, engage with their stories, get excited for them, send them little messages to say, oh, like 16 days to go. And we have conversations. I think I become just a friend on the day for sure. Like my reviews, it always comes back, she's a friend, she's just made us laugh all day. And I think we can get inspiration from each other as well. There's so many photographers previously or videographers that have said, that looks brilliant, what you're doing. Can I do that? And I'm like, yeah, like get in there and do that. So although I'm taking so much inspo from you guys all the time, like it does work both ways as well, and I think so like you said, engaging with the couple as well. I mean, obviously when they're on their couple portraits and they're having a lovely moment kissing, I'm quiet, I'm not saying anything at those points. Pick your moments, of course, but it's just nice to have that relationship with them.
I think the more that you do, I mean, this is personal to photo and video stuff, but the more you do, the more ideas you're getting, the more kind of creative you're getting. Because I think the misconception is that you're just going to be over the photographer's shoulder stealing all their shots.
Yes. And don't get me wrong, and I'll be totally honest about this. Right at the beginning, I think I was doing that a little bit to an extent, because I thought, well, wherever they are must be the place that I need to be, So, and I remember a photographer sort of saying to me, actually, what you're doing here, though, could be quite upsetting for a photographer. And I thought, oh my God, yeah. So I think if a content creator is doing something at a wedding that you think, it's towing the line a little bit, honestly, I can't imagine any of them would be offended if you told them, because without all that amazing advice, I wouldn't be as confident in the position I'm in now. Like, I'm not over a shoulder, I'm not getting the same angles. Because for me, if you've set a couple up in a certain pose, not like a kiss or a walk, but if you've done something quite unique with them, I'm not going to come along and snap that, because for me, that's your work, that's what you've put there. So yes, I can get a bit of behind the scenes and I might get you in it this time, or something like that, but I think it's about knowing your place and also being respectful of what everybody else is doing and understanding. I think as you go on, you'll learn that lingo as well about like lenses and like where you are and how wide you are, and then you just learn very quickly, I think.
What you want? 55? Where are you?
Yeah.
I'll go wide.
Yeah, exactly that.
Sorry, Howard. It's geek talk.
Just yeah.
It's great. It's good, and it's great that that you're respecting that. And like I say, I don't think it's all your responsibility. It should be a joint. But I get what you're saying. Is it's a collaboration. We should all work together. And I like that idea. If I've come up with a really clever way to get a shot with the couple and pose them in something unique, that would, for me, if you were there, it would be great that you're filming that, because then I can use that as a reel and look at this.
Exactly.
Look at this unique way that I posed this couple. Bosh, reel. So
yes.
So like, why not utilize a content creator rather than just going in with the hump and being like, oh, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, everyone can utilize them as well. I take how many photos and videos of decor and and the cake, these people could be using this. So I always say to my couples, reach out to those suppliers. If they want any content, they are more than welcome to use it. Just credit me and you can use it, however you like. And I think I've done like collaborations with like Moment versus the Photo, where, they're chucking the groom up in the air and, things like that. You can definitely utilize everything that's going on that wedding day, as long as you're nice.
Cool. Do you see it growing and growing and growing over the next few years? Do you think it's here to stay?
I genuinely do. I think it will adapt because I think as time goes on, social media goes on, everything changes. So I think it will adapt, but I just think it's a gap. I mean, I haven't personally opened my 2025 diary yet because I just wanted to see how this year went. But I'm already kind of in the process of doing a few new bits. I can't say any more on that at the moment, but some exciting ways, I guess, of capturing content. So I think things will just adapt with this. I can't see it going anywhere, but I actually know videographers and photographers that are now doing content creation on the side as well. So I think it goes to show that they're seeing it, they're clocking on.
This is what will happen with any new concept. Someone else will pick it up and go, well, I'm just going to bring that in house rather than letting someone else take those ideas. I'm going to do it, and I've seen videographers that are offering it now. And
what about the podcast this week with Ollie and Susie? Because there was a point in their career where the venues were starting to get the love letters themselves and put it as part of their package, but they are still at the forefront and the experts within that field. So people will come along and do it, but just keep going and have that sort of acumen to always be striving and always kind of be the best and always being creative. And they've lasted the course and they are smashing it. And
keep innovating, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, you stand out for that one particular service.
Are you busy next year, 24?
Yeah, I don't have much availability, if I'm honest. I have some probably winter, and maybe the odd weekday in summer, and that is literally, I think I'm almost fully booked. So I have constant inquiries for 2025. So if you are a 2025 couple, it is opening very, very soon. I have like a mega waiting list for that at the moment. So super excited. I mean, I just don't know where it's going to go at the moment. I think if I brave leaving a career, I'm going to brave riding this sort of wave, really. So I'm just going to see how it goes. I don't know. Will I transition into photography? Will I transition into video? I don't know at the moment. I just know that I love capturing stories. So however that's going to be, I'm not sure yet.
Interesting. Cool. Don't go back to teaching. I trained as a teacher. This is much better.
No. Yes, I won't be going back to teaching. I mean, it's taught me a lot, and I'm great with kids at weddings. Do you know, people always say, how have you got that kid? How have you got that child in that photo? I've asked them and asked them and asked them, and they wouldn't do it. I said, 10 years of teaching. And they're like, okay. So yeah, I'm great with kids at weddings.
Well, great. I mean,
I think that's good.
Yeah,
we're so good.
Loads of stuff. We always ask a couple of questions at the end. What else would you do if you weren't in your role in the wedding world? If you were to do anything else
in the wedding industry.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would say like photo, video, just because I really enjoy capturing and making a story. I just love delivering that kind of story at the end of it. So probably that.
Do you think, look, well, you've touched on that, so you started, there's videographers, photographers that are now kind of dipping into content creation themselves. Do you think that you and yourself and some of the others might go the other way and start adding on photography as well as?
Possibly. Very possibly.
Yeah, well, makes sense. And then, do you have an outrageous, hilarious story from a wedding that you've seen,
or a nightmare story,
or
just a story at a wedding that's happened to you?
Do you know, I was thinking about this and I thought, do you know what? I don't really have an embarrassing story. I thought, that's pretty lucky to have gone 74 weddings. So the next one I'm going to fall down the stairs or something, aren't I? It's going to be tragic. I thought of this one moment that was quite funny, actually. My husband doesn't come to many weddings with me, but he comes to the odd one. And he just sort of helps me out. You know, he won't come in the ceremony or anything like that. He just kind of does all the outside of the venue for me. He's pretty good as well. But I remember this one time that I was in the bridal prep room and the bride was getting her makeup done. The bridesmaids were pretty much ready to get dressed and things like that. And we were just all kind of, chilling, having a bit of a chat. And this one bridesmaid, I remember her being at the window, and they all sort of gathered at the window, and they were whispering and they were chatting. I thought, what's going on over here? So I kind of moved over a little bit, thought something's going on, I probably need to capture it. And they were having a right giggle and saying, oh, who's that? I'm gonna have to see if I can get that number later. Look how hot he is. Blah, blah. I thought, oh, who is this? Little bit of eye candy on a morning. I looked at it was my husband. So
Hey!
had to sort of say
Don't
to
tell him
them,
that. His head will never get out the door.
Yeah. No, but it was just funny that I had to sort of say to the girls, like, actually, that's
Excuse me.
That's Mr. Bunn, yeah. So back off. That was quite funny, but
It happens to the best of us, doesn't it?
It happens. It happens.
No, what could you say? But
I can sympathise with Mr. Bunn there. I know that feeling.
Yeah, I get it all the time.
That one rather than a horrific story. So my horrific stories are pretty bad. So we'll end it on a funny note.
End it on that one, Mr. Bunn.
Yeah.
That's the news.
What's the last? Oh, just if you could just leave us a question for the next guest.
Yeah, because our last guest, their question was about TikTok, wasn't it?
How do we do TikTok?
You've answered it.
So it's just hilarious because they were like, oh, who's your next guest? And we we don't tell them. And they were like, well, if we were to ask anything like personally, we just want to know how to do TikTok. And I was like, say no more.
Perfect timing.
Done. Wow. I think as we're talking of Think Wedding New Business today, I think it would be quite good for me to maybe get a little bit of advice. I know I sort of said earlier about this year taking on a lot, and I haven't quite managed to sort of get a work-life balance. I guess this year. I really figured it out when I was teaching. It took me a long time, but I kind of started to get there. But I think for me is, how do you sort of navigate, still having a social life? How do you navigate family and things like that when obviously weddings are predominantly on weekends? So any tips or ideas or how they sort of manage that?
I can answer that.
You
now.
don't.
You don't have a social life. Your social life is your weddings. It's bizarre. I was talking to somebody last night about it, and a friend of mine who runs a restaurant, and he said he doesn't like socializing. And I said, well, I'm a little bit like that now. I've sort of gone that way. It's because you're out with people when you're working, and that kind of ticks your social box, I think.
Yes.
But no, we'll ask that to the next one.
I mean,
there are different answers to that.
I could do with learning that one. I've not got it. It takes over your life, doesn't it? And you've got to make your peace with it a little bit. But that's a good question, because if there is any way to make it a bit more of a balance, then
there's not much you can do. If your normal friends who have the normal jobs going out on the Friday, Saturday night, you coming along, well, I'm working.
I think it's just like, it's understanding whether do you like book time off? Do you say, what, this Saturday in this month, I'm having it off, and kind of being strict with that, I guess. I'm just kind of wondering if that's what people do. I
think it's important with your partner. I mean, me and Sam always try and have a date day at least once a week, and if not, every 2 weeks without a doubt. So we kind of always book a bit of time together. So I think that's really important with your partner, but like your friends and social life, I don't know, because I don't have any friends anymore. Adam's my only mate, really.
Oh,
sad, but it's true. We've got each other. That's it. It's for online on Instagram, and where can people find you?
Yes, you can find me on Instagram, mbweddings_events, and you can find me on TikTok, not with the same name. I don't know why I did that, but I am Mrs. Bunn on there. So yeah, if you want a bit of wedding inspo, some tips, you fancy coming on and having a bit of a chat, hit me up on TikTok if you're interested in a wedding content creator.
Wants some help with reels, or someone to give them I guess you could work with them as well. They could reach out to them.
Yeah, for sure. Suppliers, venues, anybody, and any couples listening. If you want a content creator,
be inundated after this.
I know, I'd be like, oh, Howard, will you leave it out?
Honestly, I was just chatting with my business partner this week, and we're like, we need to start sorting the TikTok stuff out.
It's important for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, Melissa, thank you so much. It was great. Cheers.
Loved it.
Bye.
Thank you.
So thanks so much for listening. We really hope that you found this episode insightful, inspirational, and if you did enjoy that, then please consider subscribing to us wherever you get your podcasts, iTunes, Spotify. We're Think Wedding Business.
We're also on YouTube and Instagram, so if you want to watch us, you can go over to YouTube and find us at Think Wedding Business, and the same over on Instagram to keep up with all of our future episodes.
We'd really love you to subscribe and join us on this journey. And if you do like this content, please consider giving us a 5-star review. It just helps us get seen and helps spread the word.
So thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.